Good morning. My name is Bobby Albano with California Curb Appeal, and today is our Wednesday Level Up training. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to continue our conversation on lease listings and how to use lease listings to get leads. My philosophy about real estate and developing your book of business and your sphere of influence. You hear these words a lot. And basically, what it means is you are setting yourself up to be in escrow 100% of the time. At least that's the goal. We want to stay in escrow from the moment we open our first escrow until we decide to stop doing real estate. So the idea is to get your book of business. We call it a lot of different things. It could be called your CRM, your customer relationship management system. It could be called your database. It could be called many different things, but basically, you are going to have the all the possible clients in one place, and then you're going to be communicating with them. You're going to be creating relationships with them. You're going to be marketing to them. This is your all the people that could possibly be helped by your services, and in one place. So to in order to be in escrow 100% of the time, so once you open your first escrow, what should your next step be? Your next step should not be to do the paperwork for that transaction. You should be getting a TC to do that. Your next step should not be to, do something else or spend the money or whatever. But your next step should always be once you open escrow, you should be working on opening the next escrow so that when this one closes, you are simply opening up the next one. You want to be in escrow 100% of the time. So, how do we do this? How do we make sure that we're in escrow? Well, you might have heard the term pipeline. What that means is that if you imagine a pipe and you have the opening up here, right? And then the pipe comes down. At the bottom of the pipe is where you're opening escrows. At the top, those are the folks that should be getting ready to open escrow. So you look through your database and you see who is the most likely person to be opening escrow next and what are the barriers to them opening escrow. Is it that they're not pre-qualified? Is it that they haven't found the right house? Is it that you don't have a buyer in that spot or a seller? And what do you need to do to get that person ready to open the next escrow? So that is the bulk of what being a real estate professional is all about. It's not knowing how to fill out the disclosures. It's not about how to meet the appraiser at the property. These are tasks that can easily be handled by a transaction coordinator or by an assistant or by another agent that is just getting going in the industry. You want to have that experience, you want to know how to do it, but you don't want to occupy your time with all of that. So, um, one way that I have found to keep that pipeline in flowing and always have people coming into the large funnel is to do activities where you're going to be constantly meeting people that go into your database, right? So, what are you going to do that's going to constantly be having you talk to people that are going into the pipeline? Rentals, because think about it. Think about it. When you were a teenager, what was the dream? What was the dream? The dream was, I'm going to move out into my own place. I'm going to have independence. I'm going to have freedom. I can make my own choices. I don't have to live under somebody else's rules. And really, isn't that what home ownership is all about? I mean, think about it. We are children and we grow to a certain age and we discover, hey, if I had my own place, what does that mean? That means freedom. That means I am no longer under another person's rules. So think about it. You get to this place, you find your first rental place, right? And you learn how to rent a place. You learn all the rules that come with that. You leave it in good shape. You have to have a deposit. Um, Good credit's gonna equal an easier time of it. Um, if something breaks, you call the landlord. There's all kinds of rules that come with renting a place. So you get your first rental place, but then, you grow weary of that. You want something new. Maybe you want something bigger. Maybe you're expanding the family. So then you get a bigger rental place. But again, human beings are always uh, attracted to getting freedom. We want to get out from under anything that's telling us what we can and cannot do. And what does the landlord do? I mean, come on. They say no pets. They say if you want someone to move in, you got to clear it with me. It's kind of like being in that child role one more time. And what is the next step to getting your freedom? Home ownership. It's just like when you were a kid trying to get out from under your parents' household. Now, I'm not putting down anybody's parents. Everybody's parents are great, for the most part. It's just that we, as human beings, we are always desiring more and more freedom. So, if you think in those terms of what the average person does, so statistically speaking, we know that people are moving out from their parents' homes. Now, this has changed over the years. It used to be a younger age, but since the pandemic, it's a little bit older. So people are staying with their parents to their mid 20s, and especially if they're going to college and something like that. Excuse me, so sorry. Um, so if they're going to college, or even if they're not, if they're just getting their first job, it takes a while to be earning enough money to afford a rental, right? So mid 20s, something like that, they're going to be moving into their first rental. So how long are they going to stay in their rental housing? So statistically speaking, they will be renting for about 5 to 7 years. So that puts you, maybe 32 to 35. They're going to be looking to get that next step to freedom. So they're going to be looking, how can I buy a house in that age group? So why, what I like to think about renters is they're pre-buyers. They're not renters. They're in that space before they are buying. So you're in the pre-buying stage. So when do you want to meet a buyer? If you wait until they're on Zillow looking to buy a house, I think you're too late, because they've probably already identified the person that's going to be helping them with that process. So, do we want to meet a buyer when they're 35 and they've already got some houses picked out? No, 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 no. We want to meet that person when they're still renting, when they're still renting. So, why not help renters? Why not help that person who's renting their first apartment? Start early, get to know them, because then you have the time to develop a trusting professional relationship with that person. You're going to assist them, you're going to teach them. It's a very, very nurturing role, really, because, like I was saying about the rules of renting are many and they're vast. And if you break them, there could be consequences. So we, as a responsible and smart real estate professional, we should be in that teaching role, saying, Oh my goodness, this is your first apartment. It has a lot of freedom, but it also has a lot of responsibility. The things that you do now are going to have a huge impact on what you're going to be able to enjoy later. So, no more of this, I'll get you the rent when I can. No more of this, um, uh, I'm going to make a mess and leave it. I mean, people keep their home the way they're going to keep their home. But when it gets to the point of damaging, the property, then, there a line needs to be drawn. And, if you take care of your place, it's going to have an impact on everything. So take care of the place. If something breaks, if you see water leaking, call your landlord immediately. That water is the worst destroyer of property that I have ever seen. It'll destroy a property faster than you know. So, be in that teaching role, meet them. Um, Hook up with a property management company and say, look, I am so happy to assist your potential tenants in putting together a rental application, all the, get the credit report run, get the paperwork they need to submit with it. I'm willing to do this only for the amount that this job is paying. So a rental or a lease, when you're helping a tenant, does not pay very much at all. So what you've got to do is get into the mindset of I'm not getting the value I'm getting out of this is not monetary. The value I'm getting out of this is experience. I'm meeting people. I'm creating the possibility of a future revenue stream. So that is where your mind needs to be. Now, I'm not saying do a bunch of work for free. Heck no. What you want to focus in on is the lease listings. You want to take the listings. So, how do you get a lease listing? Once again, you're going to hook up with a property management company. And when they have a vacancy, just be that person. Hey, I will find you a tenant. I will take that lease listing and I will find you a tenant. When you take the lease listing, it's just like a sales listing. So you're going to work with the property manager and you're going to have a contract with them or an agreement with them, a signed agreement with them saying one side deliver to you a ready, willing, and able tenant that qualifies, that meets all the criteria of this property management company, then I will receive payment. And that payment is usually around half of what the place rents for. So if it rents for $3,000, it's probably a job that pays around $1,500, which is not bad because it doesn't take you that long to do. And it gives you this wonderful experience, this great relationship with a person. And guess what? People who rent have friends that rent also. Because who do we surround ourselves with? We surround ourselves with like people. I was talking to my son last night on the phone, and he was telling me that they have some friends that they hang out with often, and just really great people. But my son's a really great person, and his wife is too. So of course they have friends that are really great people. Anyway, they are very similar. In fact, that's what he said. Why they get along so well is because they're very similar. All of the friends that they hang out with are very similar to them, have kids the same age, are early. They just bought their house, or they're all renting, or So when you meet somebody and you help them to get into their first home, their second home, whatever, they're going to talk about the experience that they had if it was memorable. And that could be both ways. If it was really horrible or if it was really great. So what you want to do is you want to make it really, really great. How do we make it great? How do we make it memorable? Well, it's really in the details. It is all in the details because the process itself is pretty much the same across the board. You're going to take their application. Oh, I'm sorry. back up. You're going to list the property. You're going to make sure that it shows perfectly. You're going to get it cleaned. You're going to get it up to code. Make sure it's got its smoke detectors and everything it needs legally. You're going to advertise it. You're going to throw an open house. You're going to touch all of the five senses when you're throwing an open house. It's going to be visually appealing. You're going to have some nice sounds going on, whether that's white noise or some jazz music or whatever. It's going to smell wonderful. If you need to put some plug-ins around the house, that's what you're going to do. You're going to have something delicious to eat, very tiny, very not messy. You're going to have some water on hand, or, if the situation calls for it, maybe some mimosas or something like that. Something really nice, very classy, and the temperature is going to be right. You're not going to have it really cold or really hot, and so people want to stay in the space. The more time that they stay in the space, the more they're going to want to imagine themselves being in the space. So when you throw your open house, you're going to connect with every single person who comes. This is a perfect opportunity to fill that database. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to, before you go to the open house, you're going to you're going to read some news so that you know what's going on in the world. You're going to have some neighborhood statistics. You're going to know how far away the grocery store is, the freeway entrance, the schools. You're going to know this stuff beforehand so that when the person walks in, you have something to say. If the person that comes in with a 7-year-old child or something in that age range, then you're going to say, hey, the elementary school is just 2.5 miles down this way. And, you're going to know some things. It ranks third in the city of Fontana, whatever. So know some things, be interesting. If you want to attract people to you, if you want people to think you're interesting and you're fun and you're nice, then be interesting, fun, and nice. You got to do it. And then they will think that, and they will remember you, and they will have a pleasant experience. So connect with every single person. It's not hard to find one thing that you have in common with another human being. Sometimes it takes a little bit of digging, but you will find one thing at least that you share in common with another person. Once you find that commonality, then making conversation with that person gets a lot easier. And you can actually laugh about some things or chuckle at yourself. Yeah, I do that too. Oh my God. It makes it easy to connect. Once you connect, once they feel like you're somebody that they can trust, they're going to beeline back to you every time they need something. And then when they come to you and you're able to fulfill their need, then it's going to reinforce that belief that you can solve their problems. So this is how you want to do your open house. You want to use it as a way to fill that funnel. So what do you do when somebody doesn't want to give you their information? Do you push for it? Absolutely not, because that gets creepy. What you want to do is just make it okay. It's totally okay. Whatever you feel comfortable with, I'm not going to push. You never want to push. What you want to do, and I heard this in a 12-step program, believe it or not, but it rings true across all kinds of different situations and life, situations. um, Attraction rather than promotion. If you can get somebody that honestly thinks you're interesting, funny, and fun to be around, that is so much better than trying to toot your own horn. That's so much better. So you want to be somebody who they want to be around. So that's all you got to do is just be somebody that is pleasant to be around. So when they come to you and ask something about the house, know the answer. If you don't know the answer, that's totally fine, but commit to them to get the answer back to them. Don't try and make something up on the fly. And not knowing something can actually work in your favor. If they say, how old is the air conditioner unit? Oh my goodness, I know that it's not that old because we were talking about a warranty, but let me get the actual age for you and I can get that information back to you. I can even tell you if it's still under warranty, which I think it is, but I want to make sure. So can I get your phone number and I'll get that information back to you. Now you have a reason to call them back, which is exactly what you want. And everybody that looked at that house during your open house, they're all looking for a house. So the potential to meet those people and help them find a house, now it's not going to pay a whole bunch, but look at the relationships you're going to make. And you can count on the fact if you nurture that relationship and you keep in touch with them, which is something we can talk about at another time, like how do you do that? Then they're going to be buyers. They will be buyers. And what are you going to be doing in the, 2 or 3, 5 years that they need to wait to become a buyer? You're going to be doing real estate. Are you going to need another transaction in 2 to 5 years? Of course you will. It's not good unless you change your career suddenly or, whatever, you're still going to be doing real estate and you're still going to need a lead. So this is you lead generating for you. So it's the perfect situation. Anyway, so when you're doing your open house, just try to remember that these are your next escrows. These are your next escrows. So you want to, conduct yourself um, in that manner. Um, I think that is just about it. Trying to think of anything else. Oh, another opportunity to promote yourself. And I said attraction rather than promotion, but you do have to promote yourself a little. You got to let people know you exist in the world. Before your open house, this is something that not a lot of people do, but it is so incredibly valuable, is that whenever you're given a gift in life of a way to reach out to another human being without being pushy or intrusive or annoying, is to take advantage of situations where you actually do have something to tell them. You have an open house coming up. This is a perfect opportunity to invite them to come to your open house. Now, this is going to do two things. If somebody else in the neighborhood was thinking of possibly putting their house up for sale and they see you doing all this effort for another individual, you're going door to door, you're inviting everybody personally, you're leaving some really good material at their doorstep, and they see the sign. You're presenting yourself well. You dress nicely to do this. Then, when they're looking for an agent, it is highly likely that they will reach out to you because you've already shown some things. You've shown that somebody else can trust you. You've shown that you know the neighborhood. You've shown that you're not a lazy agent. You've shown that you know what you're doing. So these are very good reasons for them to call you when they're ready. So you definitely want to market to the neighborhood when you have something to tell them. You have an open house. You want to invite them. You want to make the invitation look really attractive. You want to be very clear about when it is, and what they're going to what they can expect when they get there. And you want to have some sort of treats and snacks so that when they come.
SPPD dispatch or San Bernardino Police Dispatch.
Okay, I'm so sorry. We're going to end it there. Thank you all for attending. I have to get this call, but we'll talk to you next Wednesday. All righty.